Thank you very much. I would like to thank Dr. Wang of the Center for China and Globalization to invite me to this very important forum. I respond to the moderator's questions in my presentation. I want to take up 3 points today. First, I want to talk about risks to the Asian century. And I want to talk consequences of such risks. And I want to say that if appropriate solutions are found, it is still possible to realize the Asian century. I take the view that the Asian century has yet to be realized. First, what are the risks to the Asian century scenario? Well, the ADB published a report in 2011 entitled Asia 2050, Realizing the Asian Century. Okay? And it predicted the 21st century to be an Asian century in the sense that Asia will produce more than 50% of global GDP by 2050. Well, ADB identified several risks to this Asian century scenario. One of the most important risks identified was the middle income trap. The middle income trap means that middle income countries cannot move up to the rank of high income countries with a per capita national income of more than 13,000 US dollars. Well, only a few economies in Asia, such as Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and Singapore, have been able to achieve this objective to get out of the middle income trap. Other middle income countries have not been able to move to high income countries because of several reasons. For example, the loss of international cost competitiveness due to rapid rises of wages without productivity growth. Second, lack of productivity growth due to limited investment in infrastructure, human capital, R&D, and innovation. Third, economic and financial crisis due to the collapse of real estate bubbles, capital outflows, and banking sector vulnerabilities. Fourth, social and political instability as a result of rising inequality, corruption, and environmental damage. Under this middle income trap, Asia's GDP would be only about 30% of global GDP, according to the ADB study. I would add to this middle income trap what I call the Asian catastrophe risk. Due to possible political and security conflicts within Asia and or with outside of Asian countries. This Asian catastrophe risk may result from military conflict in the Korean Peninsula, major conflicts between large Asian countries, or military confrontation between China and the United States. The great power confrontation between the United States and China may result in economic fragmentation, not only between the two countries, but also between the West and East. Here, the West includes the G7 countries and the European Union, and the East includes China and Russia, given that the West has already imposed sanctions against Russia and attempts to decouple Russia from their economies after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. This argument suggests that world economic fragmentation is a major risk to the Asian century. So what would be the economic consequence of world economic fragmentation? I argue that this cost or economic consequence is very negative and very serious. World economic fragmentation means that trade and investment between the two blocs will be significantly reduced. Supply chains will be divided between the two blocs, and flows of information, knowledge, ideas, technologies, and human talents between the two blocs will be severely cut. Fragmentation will reduce economic efficiency, increase production costs, and lead to lower GDP in the world. The IMF and WTO both predict significant costs, and costs are higher for China than the rest of the world because of China's significant interdependence with the global economy. So this suggests that it is in the best interest of all countries, including China and others, to avoid such economic fragmentation. So my final point I want to make is that it's still possible to avoid fragmentation in the world economy and realize an Asian century, even though some economic decoupling in the high-tech sector related to national security may take place. Okay? To avoid world economic fragmentation into two blocks, I would like to suggest several points. First, great power competition between the United States and China needs to be managed to avoid their military confrontation. Second, the two countries, China and the United States, need to seek cooperation on issues that are common to them, common interest to them, such as climate change, pandemics, and external debt problems in developing countries. And the coverage of economic security measures taken by China and the United States and other countries should be limited to areas directly related to national security so as to avoid a large-scale fragmentation in the world economy. So here, Japan can also contribute to avoiding world economic fragmentation by building a constructive and stable bilateral relationship with China. Of course, for Japan, the United States is a key security ally and a major economic partner. But at the same time, China is also a very important economic partner. At the Kishida-Shu summit held in November this year, several common understandings were shared. They decided to promote economic and people-to-people exchanges, and building on their common understandings, Japan and China can promote economic and people-to-people exchanges. They can discuss common issues like aging population, medical healthcare problems, income disparity issues, real estate bubble problems, and so forth. They can revitalize trade and investment by further developing RCEP into a higher level trade agreement. They can conduct pre-consultation on CPTPP, which China is very much interested in joining. And also, they can hold policy dialogue on WTO reform. And of course, the two countries can respond to global challenges. In conclusion, Asia is at the crossroads of whether it can continue to grow rapidly and realize an Asian century. Asian countries need to continue to work hard to get out of the middle income trap and avoid the Asian catastrophe in a cooperative way. It's vital that Asia and the rest of the world make every effort to avoid global economic fragmentation. Thank you very much for your attention.